interesting
sure.
connection you made with the JFK stuff, and there's a lot of stuff I like to champion with the Kennedys. They have a lot of problems, but
Yeah.
they also, I see the Bidens as a criminal syndicate, and the Kennedys were technically, because of their father being
Yeah.
the moonshiner bootlegger, working with the mob type stuff, and that's a whole other story with the mob and what people theorize as being the assassination being a mob hit. But that is interesting with the criminal element both there. I think obviously, I mean, not obviously to some, but I believe Joe is clearly a criminal with a lot of stuff going on in Ukraine. We know about Hunter's issues. But yeah, it's really interesting that they refuse to or just outright reject this whole story, something that could make, I think, them more appealing or redeeming in a lot of people's eyes. It's like I'm always looking for ways that we can bridge the divide in the country because there's a big one. I'm like, maybe it's this, but I wonder why not. What do you think it is? Like you're talking earlier about how this abuse is cyclical. You think there's something there?
Well, when you look at the Ashley Biden diary, which
Hmm.
I read that pretty thoroughly. I focused really on the pages that accused abuse or alleged abuse. And in particular, the section where she talks about going over to the Woolsey's house, I think Woolsacker's house, Woolsacks. That
Okay.
was the name of the family she listed. And I tried to look into who that family was, and I pretty much got a dead end because I think she spelled it
Hmm.
incorrectly. But there's a talk. She's like, there's a lot of trauma that happened, and I don't know what to make of it. And I know it happened to Carolyn too. And I was like, who's Carolyn? And you take a quick look, and it's James Biden's daughter, right? The uncle,
Hmm.
and she shows the same signs that Hunter, and the signs of child sex abuse are well defined, well defined. It's just generally failing life, a
Right.
non-starting life because you are stuck in a survival mode.
Mm.
The victims often never get a voice. Very 1 out of 10 kids will ever report their sex abuse.
Yeah.
So, and that's for boys or girls. And so if you're in a family that is in the limelight of politics, you guys are the golden family of Delaware. If there was sex abuse, your chances of the idea you're going to come forward with that is virtually zero. Virtually zero. Because I know one thing about the Bidens, they huddle all the wagons the second there's any scrutiny on them whatsoever. He supported when Hunter started dating Beau's wife. After he died, they always stick together. They stuck
Hmm.
together for the Ashley Biden diary and got a hold of the judge and vouched for it. This is a family that, regardless of the sick history, they seem to love each other to an extent, at least, that they'll stay together and have each
Interesting.
other's back no matter
I
what.
would argue that it's not even love. I'd argue that it's loyalty to the political image that Joe Biden wants to curate for the American public, right? And maybe there's love there. I don't know. I'm just speculating. But to me, it
Yeah,
seems
love
like
is a
that's the
strong
case.
word to use there. I don't think it's appropriate either, but
I don't know if
for lack of a
reptiles
better
can
word.
love Destiny.
That's a bad love, but I guess in their sick mind this would be like love to them, and
Yeah.
which is, don't give up on each other. But there's something very manipulative also in the air of the Bidens. And you hear it when you go through the Biden laptop and you listen to conversations Beau
Yeah.
has on the phone with Jill or with his sister, and he's always complaining about how hard dad is on him. And he's the big guy, he gets the big cut and
Mm.
anything for him and everything for him. And so, and I believe that with him, swearing in next to his kids after he just lost his wife and daughter,
Yeah.
and he's so focused in that moment, he's thinking of what seems like nothing else. Everything is the career.
Hmm.
I mean, look, it's elder abuse what they're doing right now,
Oh
having
yeah.
him in office at all.
Oh yeah.
It's so to obvious that the agenda mattered more than any other thing, and whatever that agenda is the empire, I guess, of Biden's and politics. But there was nothing that they were willing to compromise for that. So I think that there might not might I would say I'm sitting on the fence of like there's probably a 60 to 75% chance, I think I'm right about this, that either Hunter or Beau, because they both would have gone to school Archmere at the time of this rapist activity, at least for 2 years. At least for 2 years. I know that because it overlaps with the kid who graduated in '85.
Hmm.
For because it's a 4-year preparatory school, and so at least 2 years. They're both attractive young children. They were attractive adults. They're not, I guess you would say, hideous looking kids, which I
Hmm.
don't know if that matters. But the kid who was raped was very similar in appearance.
Hmm.
And if you have a preference, which a lot of, child rapists have preferences, they either like boys or they like girls
Hmm.
generally. There are people who are kind of, unanimous with anything they want, but by and large, it seems like they have types generally. So
Right.
it's I think it's not unbelievable to imagine that either Hunter or Beau or even both were possibly molested in this. What I would think, just because of how things played out, is that Beau being the older, I would imagine that he was very protective of Hunter if something happened,
Right.
um, either to him or he got wind of it, or or maybe even Hunter told him, and that's why he had to be the upstanding one. Maybe that's why there's something called to him about the child trafficking. It's not every day just a middle-aged man decides, I'm going to make this the hill I die on.
Right.
But I mean, he fell into it. He started the Child Protection Task Force, which was what led to the creation of the Beau Biden Foundation after he passed away. But all that was already set up before he died, because of all the victims he was doing all these cases for. And so there's something about this protectiveness. There's a great sadness that happens in this family, and there's a lot of abuse, and just something doesn't sit right with me. I would say probably it was I would say they were probably all abused.
I,
All of them, all of
yeah, I
them.
think it seems personal, and I forget if we said this explicitly or not yet, but he declined to be the senator to continue prosecuting these cases, right?
Yes. And by that time he had already started failing health, but they were unaware. At the time it was like 2011,
Right.
2012, he took on the DuPont chemical heir, which that
Yeah.
to me is,
Let's get
I
into
think,
that.
really big. Okay. So I think it was 2011, 2012. Don't quote me on that. It was one of his later cases though. It wasn't the early 2000s. And there was the wife of the heir of DuPont Chemicals. I think his name's like Edward or something. It's quite a long, ostentatious name, but he's the heir. And for people who don't know this, and I didn't know until I looked into this myself, DuPont Chemical headquarters and founding of the company is Delaware. It's been one of the largest corporations that has held that place together financially for over 100 years.
They
It's quite a chemical company.
they
It's
are
multi-billion.
extremely important to Delaware and to our country.
Mhm.
And yeah, I guess I could add that the DuPonts fled the French Revolution because they were homies with Louis, and they saw him get his head chopped off, or a bunch of people get their heads chopped off. And they said, "We don't want the guillotine." They came over here, landed in Delaware, and then I guess it was like the son, or I think it was the son of those people who fled, started basically DuPont, the gunpowder, you know, and I think they actually just became contractors for the Army and the Navy because they made all the gunpowder for almost every war,
Yeah.
starting in War of 1812, maybe like that early. So it's like
Mhm.
this is a huge family that's threaded through the military-industrial complex and basically owns Delaware, which a lot of people will say they pretty much own Delaware. So then you think of as you go on, I want everyone to think in their minds like the DuPonts and the Bidens are extremely important families in Delaware.
I think there's something very unique about that, because it's another one of those moments where, as a father, I would be proud if my son was the attorney general and put away an
Yep.
elite who was using his power as a means to try to get away with raping his own 3-year-old daughter, which is
That's
horrific.
and I can't believe that's what's happened, right? Just the heir of the DuPont family,
Mhm.
and of the guy who was the one I believe that actually started the gunpowder part of the DuPonts that became this giant millionaire magnate in America, raped his 3-year-old daughter. I mean, it's just evil stuff.
Yeah. And the wife alleged that the son, because he had a son as well, that there was allegations that he had also raped the son.
Mm,
I don't think it ever made it to court with that, because I know that they struggled a lot in that case. Beau struggled with that case for the exact reasons you had brought up earlier. They're young victims,
hmm
so you're dealing with people that don't have the brevity of vocabulary to express what happened to them clearly. They also have memory spots because they're children, and so you're going off of that, but you're also going off of medical examination, which is where you're going to get a grunt of it. And they did win the case. It was not easy because of the lack of other witnesses or anything like that. The mother had reported it because the child complained to her about pain she was having. And of course, upon examination, was very clear and asked the kid what had happened. And dad did this to me, kind of thing.
Jeez.
Daddy did it. And so obviously she files for divorce because she's not gonna stick around for this. She was mortified.
Right.
And also to get the kids just away from him was necessary. So Beau takes the case, and it was fought. There was death threats that were made to Beau and the judge, Jan Jernick, and she had to have private security brought in, which I understand. Like, and that's where I got a lot of people in the comments. I wouldn't say a lot. I would say a handful of repetitive people making the same sentiment to me that, of course, whenever you expose anything, you're talking about anything as a journalist, you're instantly the deep state and you're instantly one of them. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, no, they're like, well, if you support a Biden, then you must be one of them because they're all bad. And he
Right.
threw the case. And that's what everyone keeps saying. He threw the DuPont case. And I'm like,
Right.